Hey there, ho there, Sage here. I'm just getting over some jet lag, as it were, and I'm still hard at work on the Death Note episode of Anime Abandon, which is taking longer than expected. So in the meantime, I wanted to give you all a taste of what's been happening on our Patreon-only episodes of Dumpster Dive. So what follows are some of my favorite takes that we had on Patreon. Thank you all again, and enjoy. Here's one I've had bubbling since watching through all of Inuyasha finally. Inuyasha is exactly as bad/good as basically every other shonen for the same reasons. Emotionally motivated decision making that overrides common sense and often comes with power-up filler arcs that go nowhere, side stories that get lost in the shuffle, etc. The only reason it has such a bad reputation compared to things like Dragon Ball and Naruto is because it appealed to teenage girl power fantasies and made conflicts about relationships instead of exclusively appealing to male power fantasies surrounding combat and conflicts of willpower, with a huge part of its bad rep being that it brought a lot of fangirls into the anime fandom space that a lot of dudes mocked basically for acting like teenage girls. If anything, it handles relationships better than most long-form anime of its time, which tend to make the relationships pop out of nowhere or act as a reward for beating a final boss. Yeah, I remember when the guy who did that VG Cats webcomic did an entire webcomic railing against Inuyasha with the big old punchline being, "It's Dragon Ball Z for girls!" Like, that was the most damning indictment that anime could have had. So to your point, I definitely see how a lot of the Inuyasha is terrible takes comes from the fact that the anime is geared toward teenage girls. But let's be clear, it's not like Inuyasha's terrible reputation is solely due to that. The amount of hate that anime got was certainly exacerbated by the fact that it was aimed at girls, don't get me wrong, but when your heroine routinely smacks around her love interest, and it's supposed to be treated as a joke, you're gonna catch some flack for that. It's just like when critics tried to downplay the negativity around Twilight, saying that most of it was coming from men who just wanted to shit on something that was popular with women. There is an element of that, no doubt, but both have made it very clear that there are legitimate gripes to be had, both in terms of morality and just enjoying a story. And as for your assertion that it portrays relationships better than most other long-form anime, are we still talking about the same anime that had Kagome betray Inuyasha's trust, tricking him into placing that controlling choker on him?
Besides, don't you even trust me by now?
Sure, I trust you. I just don't want you running off by yourself again.
Because I'm gonna call bullshit on that. Hey there, just wanted to quickly check back in with you all and tell you that this episode of Dumpster Dive is brought to you by Into the AM, makers of fine premium t-shirts. Soft, quality fabric with some cool and unique designs like the one that I'm wearing right now, or this spiffy little number that's half Last of Us and half Dead Space. Into the AM is your one-stop shop for looking fresh. Check out their store in the link below and see what other designs grab you. Into the AM has bundle deals galore, and you can get yourself 3 graphic tees for only $60. And hey, if you use my link and promo code SAGE, you can get yourself a nice 10% discount. So why wait? Go to intotheam.com/bendthesage to get yourself some fly-looking shirts and save 10% off your order. Thank you to Into the AM for helping to support the show. And thank you for your time. Now, back to Dumpster Dive. Go Nagai is probably the most influential figure in anime. While Tezuka is important in getting manga and anime noticed, respected, and made, Nagai basically created the aesthetic of anime. He is the one who pioneered the usage of sexuality/nudity and extreme violence in his works, which, when you think of the difference between anime and other cartoons, that is the first thing you think about. This in turn allowed creators to have more free range in their own stories without worrying about if it will sell or if it is too extreme. He is like the reverse comic code authority. I wouldn't say he is the most influential figure in the industry, definitely in the top 5 though, maybe even the top 3. He does deserve a lot of credit for pushing the censorship envelope, allowing other manga creators to let their imaginations fly and see what sticks to the wall. And he did help pioneer the giant robot genre with Mazinger. These are all important contributions the man has made, but I don't think you could say that he created the aesthetic of anime. That was a labor of many hands. Tezuka, Dezaki, Matsumoto, Yokoyama, and yes, Nagai all made important contributions to the established aesthetic of anime, from pioneering animation techniques to designing iconic characters. The world of anime would not be the same without Go Nagai, and I would even go so far as to say that it would probably be a worse one. He's definitely a Mount Rushmore figure, no doubt about it. But the most influential? Bridge too far, dude. 2003 Full Metal Alchemist is better than Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Sorry, not sorry. No apologies needed. You're right. Granted, it has been quite the hot minute since I've seen either one of them, and recent events have soured me on the concept of a rewatch. But I distinctly remember being hooked on the show and hanging on every episode, even when it deviated from the manga and had its original ending. Whereas Brotherhood definitely felt more like a slog, which didn't help matters that it was basically retelling the first half of the story. It just felt like we were walking in our old footprints. Perhaps I'm biased because I saw the 2003 anime first and we weren't to know exactly the route it would take, but in my mind it's a more tightly written and executed series than Brotherhood, so yeah, hard agree. Studio Trigger would not be loved if it weren't founded by Gainax employees. Their work so far has been average at best. Well, you're not wrong, but I also think that you're shortchanging Trigger just a little bit. I think you could make the case that they do coast on their reputation a bit, but I think that reputation was built on Kill la Kill rather than being former Gainax guys. And yeah, after Kill la Kill, they still haven't been able to recapture that same level of wow factor and success. And them going back to the Ava well with Darling in the Franxx was not a good look for anyone. But goddammit, Inferno Cop was hilarious, and I will always go to bat for weird experimental animation. I mean, yeah, it was an ONA and it was barely animated, but it was certainly better than average. It's harder to get into new anime as a grown-ass adult when all the characters are 14 through 17. Aging up characters would benefit the story. Well, that really depends on the kind of story the anime is trying to tell, but I think there's a bigger point to be had in your take. I think a lot of aging otaku forget the fact that when they first got into anime, they were a teenager, and having teenage characters in anime is all a part of that appeal. And that's not an accident. One of the guiding principles behind anime made back then, and certainly today, is that it's supposed to appeal to preteens and teenagers. Thing is though, those characters in those anime that we watched as teenagers, they stayed teenagers. And we have all grown up. I think that's a major reason why a lot of us kind of drift in and out of the fandom. When most of the industry is targeting an audience that's younger than us, it can feel like you're being left out in the cold, as it were. But at the end of the day, it's okay if what's being made isn't necessarily made for somebody in their 20s or, God forbid, their 30s. Something always comes along. Besides, every teenager deserves a chance to get into anime the same way we did. Anime has a record as spotty as Hollywood's at video game adaptations. Nah, that's not a hot take. That's just the God's honest truth. It's just that there's been so many video game adaptations in anime that just through the sheer law of averages, one or two good ones had to have been made. But even just a quick perusing of Anime Abandoned's back catalog can tell you that anime has more than its fair share of quick cash-ins and other sundry turds.
So that's why Mommy made me a jacket with angel wings, isn't it?
Elise!
Mama, I'm an angel!
Granted, anime as a whole hasn't made anything as heinous as, say, any given Uwe Boll movie, but they do have plenty of the likes of Doom, Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia, and Mortal Kombat. Just like the law of averages, Sturgeon's law certainly applies. Manga over anime. Why? Because for the most part, the manga tells a complete story. Anime, on the other hand, tells a partial story, and when you're done, it leaves you wanting more. I think that's more of a symptom of a lot of anime banking on there being a second or third season somewhere down the line, and then they wind up never having one. Either that, or they hedge their bets and they wrap up things way too quickly and the ending is just a condensed mess. Hello, Promised Neverland. But let's not pretend that manga doesn't have pacing issues as well. And sometimes anime can help with a manga's pacing problem. I mean, look at Yu Yu Hakusho. Besides, there are worse feelings in this world than being left wanting more. Like just wanting this shit to be over with already. Aizen is the best liar-revealed villain in anime, apart from Griffith and Berserk, but that was a character-built moment in terms of betrayal. By the way, is it something that people should frown upon when one says Griffith did nothing wrong, whether earnestly or jokingly? Aizen is definitely up there, but he has the unfortunate fate of being the bad guy in the plotting snooze fest that is Bleach. Seriously, when I was watching Bleach on Adult Swim, I just gave up on the show around the time that Ichigo lost his fight with Kenpachi, and I tried giving the series another chance about 6 months later, and when I tuned in, I spat my drink out when I realized we were still in the Soul Society arc! Little did I know that it was because there was a season break during my tuning out, but I digress. For my money though, the best liar-revealed villain in anime is Kyubey from Madoka Magica, although in his case it was more of a lie of omission. He got the girls believing in the cause, his motivation makes a terrifying pragmatic sort of sense, and he also happens to look like an albino Sanrio nightmare. What's not to love? As for the Griffith part of the question, no, that's just try-hard edgelord bullshit, and it deserves nothing more than your indifference. Now, Show Tucker jokes, those are hilariously insidious, and I can't get enough of them. Just gonna leave this little meme of mine up there for all you to consider. Take your time. Yeah, when I woke up this morning, I chose violence. Gunsword is a woefully underappreciated gem of the mecha genre that has either been ignored or slept on hard. Don't think I agree with this one. I think the show got as much attention as it deserved back in the day. It's just that it was overshadowed by its younger brother, Code Geass. Thinking back on it though, I think my thoughts and feelings on Gunsword are my thoughts and feelings on Code Geass and Scried while I'm at it. Way too melodramatic and way too many simpering pretty boys with problems. Though if you do want a Goro Taniguchi anime that I think was slept on, and I'm still hoping for an English re-release to this day, check out Planets. You know, if you can find a copy. Some anime fans are extremely selfish when it comes to anime and manga. They don't care about the creators, they just want their content. Yoshihiro Togashi is an example. People are mad he doesn't work on Hunter x Hunter enough when he hospitalized himself working on Yu Yu Hakusho. He's had permanent damage done that is affected every time he sits down to work. We should be supporting creators' health, not complaining. Yup, after making my Ava videos some months back, I certainly did get an eyeful of just how needy and demanding some anime fans can be. I hadn't heard about Togashi, by the way, but it doesn't really surprise me. When you're a fan of something, to the point that it becomes a part of your identity, you can start forming connections with the source of your fandom that just isn't there. And this doesn't start or end with anime fandom either. I mean, just look at Star Wars. There has to be more to life than just fandom. Otherwise, it's just not a life worth living. And I think I'm gonna call it here. Thank you all so much for watching, and as for next month's dumpster dive, I'm gonna give you all a prompt. Since it's going to be February, the month of love, I wanna throw down the gauntlet and answer the eternal question. Who is the best waifu/husbando? Leave your answers in the comments below, and I will see you next time.